has its own benefits and the positive sides, it is always recommended that we should go for the dynamic routing protocols, right? So when you look at the dynamic routing protocol, these dynamic routing protocols are broadly classified into two major categories. As I said, one is the link state routing protocol, the other one is distance vector routing protocol, right? So preferably in today's session we'll talk about the link state routing protocol, and also the Dijkstra shortest path algorithm, how it supports the shortest path, the routing protocol to run. And probably in the further session, we'll talk about the distance vector routing protocol as well. And then I will demonstrate using RIP and OSPF to complete the discussion. Right. So this is a the screen, the content which is on the screen is roughly a repetition of what we have already come across. All right. So there are two major things. One is the routing protocol, the routing process. The other one is the actual forwarding. All right. So routing is the process. I think I have given a hint. Yes. Routing algorithm determines the end-to-end path through the network. All right. So routing algorithm defines the path a packet has to take to reach the destination. It also supports the router that you forward the packet here or you forward the packet this direction, that direction. So that decision is taken and supported by the routing algorithm. And your actual forwarding table determines where the actual packet has to be pushed. All right. So these are the two major things which we are talking about, and other things are known to us. So I'll straight away get into the action. Right. So before getting into the knowledge of our link state routing protocol, let's recall certain components or the concepts of our graph theory. You all have studied in your theory of computation, or probably data structures and algorithms, and discrete structure subject or discrete mathematics. Everywhere you would have come across this graph algorithm, because graph theory is very, very crucial for computer networks. All right. So just to recall few of the points from that graph theory, I have dedicated this slide. All right, on the top of the screen, right hand side, a small topology is given, which contains 6 routers. All right, so naming from U to Z. Right, so there are 6 routers which are assigned, and you can see these routers are connected using some links. Just hold on, I will open the laser pointer. Yeah, you can see. All right, so these routers are connected by some lines. All right, so these lines are denoting the cables or the media. All right, or in other words we can call it as link. All right, so there is a link connecting the router U and V, and that is denoted by this straight line, and there is a number also associated with that. Let's see what this line, what this UV, what these numbers. All right, that will help us to learn further. All right, now we can always take the compute networks as a directed or undirected graph. You know what is the directed graph? When there is a direction in the edge, for instance, if the data flow is between only from U and V, not from V and U, then you should represent this using a directed graph. If it is an undirected graph, which indicates that the data flow can go in both the direction, we know that, right? All right. Now, this graph is containing two things. All right. It is a set of the nodes and the edges. That is what a graph all about. All right, there will be some two dots, two nodes, and they will be connected using an edge. All right, so to have a complete graph you should have at least two nodes, and there should be one edge at least connecting them. All right, then only it will be a complete graph. You know that, right? Now you have got 6 routers here. All these 6 routers are treated as nodes in a graph. All right, and then there is a link which is connecting these two, that is denoted as edge. All right, you know that a node is always denoted by a symbol, maybe U, V, W, X, Y, Z in this example, and a link, all right, or an edge is always denoted by a pair. For instance, if I say VW, which means VW is an edge. In other words, in computer networks, it is a link. All right. So VW is a edge or it is a link. That is what you can see on the left hand side. N, that is a node. G is the symbol representing the graph, contains a set of nodes and edges. All right. So here the node is set of routers, and in this topology it is U V W X Y Z. and E is set of links. This set of links will include all the edges. Okay, I'm not sure whether I have included all the edges, but it will include all the edges. So edges will contain two nodes. All right, so which means if X W is existing, then there is a edge existing between them. But you cannot see V Z. All right, V and Z are not directly connected, so you cannot see V and Z as the edge here. All right, that is not existing here. So V and Z, VZ is not at all an edge. It is not part of your edge set. All right. The third component which we should know here is the cost of the link. All right. What is that cost? Look at this one. There is a link which is connecting U and X, and a number is denoted with 1 here. All right. Which means the cost which are involved in that particular link is one. What could be the cost? It could be a monetary cost, or it could be the time delay, or it could be a composite metric which represent the reliability of the link. It could be anything. It could be anything. All right. The cost means how much. It could be even delay. All right. So how much cost will it take for a packet to travel from one place to another place? All right. We always would go for the least cost. All right, so this cost is very much required. For instance, if there is a path existing between U and Z, I'm sorry, U and Y, for instance. So you from U to Y, you can connect multiple ways. You know, U X Y, U V X Y, U V W X Y, U V W Y, U V W Z Y. All right, UWY. Multiple paths are existing, and generally the shortest path algorithm or Dijkstra shortest path algorithm or Prim's algorithm would like to go for the least cost path. Okay, it's all known to you. I'm just helping you to recall. All right, now for any edge XYZ in X and Y in E, cost of the edge between node XY is denoted by C of XY. Okay, so cost is denoted by C of XY. We are going to use that notation in the further slides. And another one, if the pair xy does not belong to E, cost is infinity. For instance, between V and Z, no link is existing directly. All right, no direct link is existing. So the cost of VZ is infinity. All right, because V and Z is not part of your edge set. Right. Moving on. We have got a node Y is said to be neighbor of node X if xy belongs to E. All right. If there is a edge is existing in the E set, then you, for instance, U is neighbor to X, X is neighbor to W, W is neighbor to Z, and so on. All right. If there is a edge is existing, they two are neighbors, which means there is a direct link is existing between these two nodes. All right, so this is all about our graph theory fundamentals and also the basic words. With this, let's move on. We'll learn our algorithm, right? All right, so what is the cost of a path? We have just seen in the previous screen what is the cost of an edge. Where is it? Here. All right, for any edge, E cost of the edge. Cost of the edge is between these two. Now, what is the cost of a path? Okay, again, it is the summation of cost of the edges. For instance, uh, from U to Y, a path is existing. U to X, X to Y. Now, what is the cost of the path? It is a summation of cost of the edges. All right, so it is 1 plus 1, that is 2. 2 is the cost of the path between U and Y. If I take this route to Z, then cost of the path from U to Z is 4. If I take this route, all right. If I take this route, 5 plus 5. So U to W, W to Z, 5 plus 5, 10. The cost of the path is 10. We would always go for least cost path. All right, so that's the fundamental thing. Now, how can you find out the least cost path, okay, from any edge to another edge in the network? That is what our Dijkstra shortest path algorithm is going to work. We all know the algorithm, but in this textbook, we look at it in the little different way. Okay, nothing complicated. We will only find from a particular node what is the least cost edge, and then we'll add the summation. We all will sum them up. That will give you the least cost path. All right, nothing. Again, it is not a rocket science here. So let's move on. Yeah, but before that, as I have spoken to you about two major classification of dynamic routing algorithms. All right, Of course, there are three major classifications, but the third classification we don't bother much. I'll tell you the reason at the end of the slide. There are two things. One is whether it is based on global information or it is based on decentralized information. All right, or in other words, all the routing protocols which are using global information, they are called as link state routing protocols. All right, some of the points which are not available in your textbook probably I would like to add now. Okay, so one set of routing algorithms, they are all called as link state routing protocol. The other set are called as distance vector routing protocol algorithm. All right, so in the link state routing protocols, every of the nodes, I repeat, every of the nodes in the network would know the complete topology. All right, they know the whole scenario of the computer network. Okay, suppose I am part of autonomous system. All right, I am managing administrative system where which device or which router is connected to which router or which network is connected to another network. All right, it's all clearly available as a whole picture, as a big picture, as a complete picture. It is available with the routers. Then it is called as global information. All right, so it knows who is connected to what is the state of the link, whether it is up or down, what is its cost. Everything is known to every of the routers. All right, then that is called your link state routing protocols. What about decentralized? They are all distance vector routing protocol. They are another classification. I'll keep it somewhere here. Yeah, so they are all these distance vector routing protocols where they all know only their neighbors. All right, very very interesting phenomena which is happening. If at all no, you feel little bored or confused, no, pinch yourself, buckle up your belt, get ready. All right, so we need to learn about this. They are not simple thing but interesting stories, right? So when you talk about the decentralized, which is distance vector routing protocol, where every router is exchanging the distance and the vector, which means distance is in number of hops, vector is in the direction. Okay, in which direction, how many hops you have to take to reach the destination, that information will be received from your neighbors. All right, so you can see the router knows physically connected neighbors and link us to neighbors. All right, but whereas when you look at the global one, that is link state routing protocol, all the routers have complete topology, whole information. All right, this is all link state algorithm, this is all distance vector routing algorithms. All right, whether static or dynamic, yes, we have spoken about that, but still to completion sake, static algorithms are involved. No, it expects you and me, the human or the network administrator, to work on that. All right, it's not easy, it's not scalable. All right, and the convergence also is very very slow. At this time, it's my duty to define what is convergence. All right, a convergence is a process, all right, by which the routers attain a uniform routing knowledge. I repeat, convergence is a process by which routers are getting a consistent routing information. All right. So it's a process. All right. During convergence, every routers will talk to each other and they will get to know each other about the routing information, about the link state information, and they all, draw the complete picture of how a network is appearing, how the network is connected. So once you the how much time does it take to get to the state of knowing the full knowledge is the process of convergence. All right, so when you go for the static routing, generally the convergence is very, very slow. The reason is it involves the human. You and me have to go to the every router, sit, configure it, correct it. That is one trouble. Second one, after you have completed the configuration, suddenly a link fails. A rat comes and bites, or the switch malfunction, or router malfunctions, all right, or the interface suddenly shuts off. What will happen? The configuration which you have made has gone wrong. All right, it will disappear. You have given a wrong information, then you have to go there, change it, and then you have to make it up. All right, that it takes time. What happens in the case of dynamic routing protocol, on the other hand, route changes more quickly. It will go for the periodic update. All right, which means for every specific amount of time, every routers are exchanging routing information. First point. Second one, when there is a link failure, when there is a link changes, suddenly it will be intimated to everyone. Look, that particular link is not existing, or this bridge is broken en route to Delhi. All right, so that information is quickly sent across everyone, that they will update their routing information. All right, so dynamic routing protocols are quick in convergence compared to static. Even in dynamic routing protocol, link state routing protocols are very very quick compared to distance vector routing protocols. All right, the third classification comes under load sensitive or load insensitive. That is based on the congestion level of the network, the routing information will be changed. But nobody bothers now, because people go for load insensitive applications. Load insensitive because the routers are having the high capability. No, they have higher speed nowadays in switching. So load is not a big deal nowadays. But anyway, that is also coming under one of the classifications. All right, now it's the time for us to shift the gear to learn more about our link state routing protocols. All right. All right. So a little bit of theory about link state routing protocol. I have put them as points. It is following the Dijkstra's algorithm. All right. So link cost is known to all the nodes. What is the link cost? Every of the node knows what is the cost of the link it is connected with other router. All right. So we have seen in one of the topologies where U, V, W, X, Y, Z were the names of the routers. All right. And there were cost involved. So Digista's shortest path algorithm needs the link cost to be available, and it is exchanged across the broadcast information. All right. And second one important thing is, all the nodes have the similar information. They don't have unique information, but they have the uniform information, all right, about the cost. All right. So that's the again one. Why is it called Digista's algorithm? The name of the person who invented, who created this algorithm is Dijkstra. Hence, it is Dijkstra's algorithm. In fact, it is the shortest path algorithm. All right. So the algorithm computes the least cost path from one node to all the other node. Okay. If we take the node called X, from node X, what is the least cost path to all the other nodes? That's how your shortest path algorithm is running. And then this information is taken to the routing table. In other words, it is called forwarding table. All right, it's going to be iterative. All right, so there will be n number of iteration. At the end of all the iteration, the routers would know the no the every of the nodes would know their least cost path to the other device. A few of the notations. Yeah, we know what is C of xy. C of xy is the cost of the edge xy. Okay, it is a link cost, node x to y. And if there is no link is existing, it's going to be infinity. All right, it's not finite. Okay, and the second notation which we haven't seen is capital D of V. Okay, it is the current value of cost of path from source to destination V. You here look at this line. The second one, it computes the least cost path from one node to all the other node. Okay, from a specific node to the shortest path to all the other node. Okay, when you have got D of V, it talks about how much cost it involves from that particular node to node V. That is called D of V. Probably I will explain here. Okay, so I have taken this as the node. Okay, if I say D of Z, okay, D of Z, then that is going to be the summation of the least cost. If this is the least cost, then that will be the least cost. Okay, it's going to be 4. So capital D of Z, okay, here it's going to be 4, provided I am trying to find the least cost from U. Please remember, from a specific node to all the other node. That is the key point here, otherwise you will be confused here. Okay, assume that if the path is between U and W, is this is the shortest path. Okay, I'm just assuming that this shortest path may be true. Okay, now the D of W is 3. Hope you understand. D of W is 3 for U. That is what D, capital D. That's what we have seen here. The current value of the cost of the path from the source to the specific node B. Then PV. PV is the predecessor node along the path. All right. Suppose you are connect. No, A is connected to B, B is connected to C, and the path is 1 plus 1. All right. So from A, capital D of C is 2, and who is the predecessor? It is B. Okay, the predecessor of the target node, the destination node is, from where has it come from? I'll take this example again. If you take this path U X Y W, P of W, that is the predecessor of W, is Y. not Z or V or X. Who is the immediate predecessor? It is Y. Okay. So from U to go to W, the path is 3. So the predecessor of W is Y. Predecessor of Y is X. Predecessor of X is your source node U itself. Okay. So that is what your cost, the capital D and small p. There is one capital N is a set of all nodes. All right, so we know that, and N dash is a set of nodes whose least cost is already learnt. Okay, suppose you have got 6 nodes which are in N, and you have found the least cost for 4 nodes, then N dash will contain all those 4 nodes. We are going to see with an algorithm that will give you more clarity what these notations are. Okay, so we'll see Dijkstra's algorithm. First phase is initialization, not a complex one. Very, very simple walkthrough algorithm, but it requires your concentration, right? So initially, all right, you take n dash as u. What is that u? Probably have a, I'll, okay, for this one, okay, I'll go for this. All right, so initially you have n dash. What is that? N dash will contain all the set of nodes whose least cost path is known. So we start from node u. Okay, n dash initially contains a node called u. For all the nodes v, what are all the nodes here got? U, v, w, x, y, z. So we have got 6 nodes. For all the nodes v, if v adjacent to u, then the distance will be the cost of u, but u and v. Otherwise it's going to be infinite. Very simple, sir. Take the your whole set n, take all the nodes. Okay, if there is a edge is existing, take that cost, that is c, that is going to be your distance. If that link is not existing, make it infinity. So simple initialization. Hope you have got this logic. Second one is your iterative. All right, I'll tell you the logic. Very simple. Find a node which is not in n dash. All right, I'll explain to you with the demonstration. Don't worry, very, very simple one. The algorithm looks little confused. All right, very simple, but so take a node u initially, and then we come to the loop, find another node. Okay, maybe w, x, y, some node. Okay, which is not in n dash. So initially your n dash contain only one node called u. Okay, so you take another node which is not n dash, such that the distance is the minimum. Okay, from you that distance should be minimum. Very simple. Add that to your n dash. So now your n dash has got 2 nodes. Okay, next you have to update your distance, because your distance will be changed. The reason is you have added another node, right? So the you have to add the cost path. So this is where you are adding this cost. Okay, the cost is added with the dw, and find which is minimum one. Take that as db. Very simple, sir. That's it. Fill it your tabular column, and then you do your iteration until all the nodes are added to your n dash. So in our example, which are going to say u, v, w, x, y, z, all the 6 nodes have to be added to n dash. No more node is left, then your algorithm stops. Okay, so you may be feeling little confused about this algorithm. No, very simple. Now we are going to see that. All right, this is what, these are all the steps, right? So I'll explain to you. Now look at the bottom one. This is not a complicated diagram. This is very similar to what we have seen in the previous one, but with some different structure, right? And you have got u, v, w, x, y, z. So there are again 6 nodes, and you also have got the cost for every of this link, which are shown here. Perfect. So we'll go for the steps. So what is the initial step? You have got n dash. We have added u. All right. And for every other node than u, for what are all the other nodes? D, W, X, Y, Z. All right. For all the other nodes, we are going to find out what is the distance, what is the predecessor. Shall we do that? Okay. So from u, who are all directly connected? X, W, V. Don't miss the story here. Kindly give your concentration, maximum concentration, right? So u is directly connected to x, w, and v. Okay, so from u to go to x, what is the cost? 5. So d of x is going to be 5. So what is the predecessor of x? It is u. Okay, And similarly, what about W? Cost is 3. Who is the predecessor? It is U. For V, what is the cost? 7. Who is the predecessor? U. Okay. For Z, what is the cost? U and Z are not directly connected, so it will be infinity. U and Y are not directly connected, are they? No, they are not directly connected, so that is also infinity. So you will have only three values, remaining two will be infinity. So for W, it is distance is 3, and the predecessor is the U. For V, it is 7 and U. For X, it is 5 and U. All right. So look at this. So distance for V from U is 7 and the predecessor is U. Have you noticed it? All right. Similarly, go to W, it is 3 and predecessor is U. And for X, it is 5 and the predecessor is U. And for Y and Z, it is infinity. This is your first step. Okay. This is how you are assigning the cost. Isn't it simple? Very simple. What's the next step? Find out who has got the least path. That's what your second step in the iteration says. Find out the minimum. Which is the minimum? It is 3. Okay. So now where is 3? It is connected to W. So in the next step, who has got this lowest one? Add that to your n dash. So you have added the second one. Okay. Now, now you have moved to W. That's the logic. Okay. And what you can do, you can put the straight line here. We are not going to fill any more value here because it is 3U. It is already taken. W is already taken into account. So W will not be calculated again. It's not logic. It's not going to be correct. Now you are here. From W, who are all connected? Okay. X, U is already done. So we are not going to use that. W is connected to V and Y. For X, what is the path? This is the critical place you should understand. From U to X. I repeat, from U to X through W. What is the path? It is 7. Okay, to go to X, who is the predecessor? W. All right, so this one you should correctly understand, otherwise things are easy. All right, to go to V, which is the least cost? 3 plus 3 6. This is 7. So earlier one was 7. Now we have to find the minimum. Through W, if you go, it is going to be only 6. So to V, okay, here what will happen? You will have the value of 6 and the predecessor is W. All right, sir. What about Y? Earlier it was infinity, but here it is 8 plus 3, 11. All right. So if you go from W, U, W, X, it's going to be 11 and the predecessor is W. And you will not add anything here because you have already visited that place. Now, can you guess what will be the next step? Find out which has given the least distance. It's going to be X. So add X with this, so you will end up in get UWX. Shall we look at that? Okay, it's going to be UWX. Now you have moved to X. From X, who are all connected? You have already visited U, you have already visited W. You have missed only Y and Z. Okay, so from U through W and X to go to Y, or I'm sorry, from U through W or X and or through W and X, any path you take to go to Y, which is the least path. Okay, if you take directly U X Y, it's going to be 12. If you take this way, it is 14. If you take this way, have you visited V already? No, we haven't visited V already. So if you take this way, it's going to be 10. Now we have to find out which is the least one. All right. Like this, your story will continue. Okay. And wherever you have got the least path, that will be added to the n dash. That will not be calculated further. And the story continues. All right. So now you have visited U W X V, U W X and V. Next, you have got the least one is okay. You have added V. Okay. From that, you have got the least one is going to be your Y. Okay. Y will be added to that, and then finally you will you are left with only Z. Okay. So that Z will be added at the end. All right. So now it's done. Okay, sir. Now what do you get out of it? Okay, what have you got? Now it says To go to Z, you have visited every of the node U, W, X, V, Y, Z. Now, what do you infer out of it is shown probably here. Okay, if there is a tie is existing, you have to break it arbitrarily. That's okay. But this will help you. What do you get out of this Dijkstra shortest path algorithm? Okay, now it says to go to V from where? From U. Okay, to go to V, right? The path is you should go to U and W. To go to X, you have to go to U, straight away go to X. To go to Y, what is the next step? You have from U, you have to go to W, and then to go to W, you will go to U to, yeah, for W, you can go straight away from U to W. For Z, you have to go from U to then W. All right. So how to go to W? You can straight away go. All right. So this is how, if you look at this U to Z, where is Z? Okay. How should I go to Z? You have to, from U, you should go to W. All right. So from W, you will go to V, and then V to Y, and then Y to Z. This is going to give you the shortest path. All right. So this is what your shortest path algorithm, which we are using. We have learned using Dijkstra's algorithm. But your algorithm should be known to you. All right. So if somebody asks you, explain the routing algorithm used in link state routing protocol, or Dijkstra shortest path algorithm, or the algorithm which uses centralized knowledge to find the shortest path, or which dynamic routing protocol uses Prim's algorithm. So this could be multiple question, but you concentrate on Dijkstra's algorithm. All right. So generally, if you look at any of the computer networks, Dijkstra's algorithm, graph theory is a must, and Dijkstra's algorithm is very, very crucial. All right. If you have learned Dijkstra's algorithm or Prim's algorithm in any other way, and you are very, very comfortable with that, please have that logic in your mind. Okay. I am comfortable with the algorithm which is given here, but if you are comfortable with any other methodology, same Dijkstra's algorithm might be put in different way. You are comfortable, please do not learn from what I have taught you. Okay, this is in a different angle, different direction, different syntax are used, but logic is same, algorithm remains same, absolutely there is no change. But you should be able to find the shortest path existing from a specific node to any other node by the given Dijkstra's algorithm. All right. And it is better if you use this step-by-step procedure when you are explaining in the examination as well. Sometimes the question may be asked in the MCQ as well. The intermediate state, what could be this one and that one? Unless you know the clear steps, you may find it difficult. Sir, is it compulsory that you should go this step? Yes. The reason is, for the simple net topology, you can even do it by your memory. Just put a rough paper and you can go for some um, brute force attack and find out. But you should understand there are some 17 paths are existing from node U to every other node. Okay, 17 paths. All right. So if the number of nodes are more, and if the connectivity is also more, then doing by memory or some assumption is not going to help you. It's not scalable. All right. So it's better you learn the Dijkstra shortest path algorithm in a procedure way. All right, sir, is it the best algorithm? We won't say this is the best algorithm. Even it can struggle for small thing. That is what we are going to see before we wind up the session today. All right. So before we see the oscillation problem of Dijkstra, we'll see the algorithm complexity. You have seen this algorithm goes and checks with every other node. Okay, it has to check with all the other nodes. If there are n nodes, you have to go for n in the n plus 1 by 2. Okay, you know the formula n into n plus 1 by 2 will give you the mesh connection from one node to every other node. It's going to be n into n plus 1 by 2. Okay, because it is n into n plus 1, it's going to be big O of n square. Okay, because you have got the n is multiplied by n. All right, n times n is comparison is done, so it's going to be big O of n square. But there are some methodologies which are using heap. If you know the heap, yes, you studied in data structures, good, you are able to recall that word heap. All right, so if you could write this algorithm using the heap, you can go for your n log n. All right, which is it's something better than your n square, big O of n square. Nobody is going to appreciate it. All right, you know the complexity of big O of n square, but N log n is appreciable, it's acceptable compared to big O of n square. It's so if you are interested, I would encourage everyone to rewrite this algorithm using your heap. How that is going to reduce the complexity can be learnt by yourself. All right. Otherwise, you can disturb your data structures faculty or discrete mathematics faculty or the algorithms faculty. They will be able to help you in a better way than how I can explain to you. All right. What's the difficulty here? What could be the disadvantage or the downside of Dijkstra's algorithm? Dijkstra's algorithm probably can go for oscillation, right? What am I going to explain to you is little different from what I have explained to you so far. Here you can see on the left hand side there are four routers which are connected in a circular way. Okay, A, B, C, and D are their names, and you can see their sorry, you can see that they are connected using two different links. They are you don't have only one link connecting them, two things. All right, let me take the example of this. In this direction, one no it takes cost is zero. In this direction the cost is e. All right, which means it's not bidirectional cost is same. Cost is different per direction. Okay, onward direction has one path, one cost, and the reverse direction has got another cost. Okay, this is the assumption. All right, so they are connected in a circular way. And what is the initial step? What is happening initially? Router D has a packet to send to A. Okay, and the load is 1. Okay, or it it involves cost 1, and router C has got a packet to be sent, it requires cost E, and router B has got something to send, with it requires cost 1. Okay, so that is the first step. So what happens? D, initially the load is not there, so it sends the packet through this. Now the link becomes 1, and E forwards the packet through B to A. Hence, this link becomes E, and then this link becomes 1 plus E, because he is sending 1, he is sending E. This is becoming 1 plus E. You know what would happen after that? When the when Dijkstra's algorithm is running here, it will always go for least cost path, right? Now from C, it understands this path is 0. See, this path is 0. This path is 1. So C, router C forwards the load E here. Do you understand the trouble which I am showing? All right, here initially the packet was sent through this way, so this link was free. Digix's shortest path will always go for the least cost link. Now the cost is here 0, so this will prefer this path, and this way, instead of CB, the packet will be sent to CDA, which is the your clockwise direction. Okay, that's what's shown in the next one. All right, so given this cost, it finds a new route, it understands this is the least cost. All right, so it forwards the packet through this way. Once it is forwarding the packet this way, what happens? This becomes 1 plus E, this becomes 2 plus E, whereas this becomes 0 and 0. And then the router C understands, so this is only 0 and 0. So router C and B again goes to original state. It forwards E here, it forwards 1 here, and so on. You can see in the next one. All right, so now you could see from the second diagram and the third diagram, or probably 1, 2, and 3, you can see there is a clockwise and anti-clockwise direction. The reason is it dynamically adjusts, the cost is dynamically adjusted. All right, and then the least cost is preferred. So suddenly it says this way, because everyone is free here, the packet are coming this way, suddenly this becomes free, this goes here. Okay, so there is a oscillation. So some packets are going this way, some packets are this way. This creates your routing table to be flapping. We call it as route flapping. This happens. This is a big trouble in the internet. That's not in your textbook, but you can search for what is the route flapping. Especially protocol like BGP are suffering a lot with this kind of route flapping. Okay, so this kind of flapping is really going to bring down your network performance, because the route is not stable, unstable routes. All right, now this is what the trouble which is happening. So anti-clockwise and clockwise. So what could be the solution for this? So the author of the textbook provides two solutions. One is you have a fixed cost, because the oscillation happens because of the dynamic cost allocation, right? So it becomes 0 here, E here, and so on. You go for a fixed cost. but that is not going to serve the purpose. If the cost is fixed, why do you need a dynamic algorithm at all? You can say always, this is the path, take this path, go to the destination, story is over. All right, so that is exactly against our dynamic routing protocol policy. So what shall we do for that? You can go for another better solution, that don't run your Digitsas algorithm or link state protocol in all the routers. You probably go for a DVRP algorithm as well. That will avoid, because it will go for shortest path instead of least cost path. That may go for shortest path. For instance, you see, from router B to router A, this is the shortest path, but it always goes this way for the least cost path in the second iteration, right? Look at this, B to A, only one hop, but in here the packet is sent because it is searching for the least cost. The understanding is here it is 0, 0, 1, but here it is 1 plus E, and hence the packet were going this way. That makes burden here, and then it goes this way. So clockwise, anti-clockwise. So you always go for a combination of protocol. So that seems to be a better solution. Anyway, that also needs further debate and discussions among us. We'll probably take up in the further classes. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. And I stop sharing here. Um, all right. So I also stop recording.